Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the podcast. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. Guys, today I'm going to be talking to you guys about wide receivers that are about to absolutely explode in the 2022 season based on what we've seen them do so far, the numbers that we're looking at, and just their overall ability as a wide receiver. I have very good reason to believe that these guys are absolutely about to go off. If you haven't attained them yet, and they are on somebody else's roster, you need to go in and try to make a trade for these guys immediately before they become untradeable. And if you have them on your team, just hold on to them. They're going to be incredible this year for 2022 fantasy football, and they're potentially going to win you your league. So I am going to start right here with one of my favorite players on this list, the very first player I have on this list, and that is Garrett Wilson. Now, this is a guy who's come in and had 25% of his team's passing yards, 2.23 yards per route run, 1.83 yards per snap, a 38.5% juke rate. This is the third highest juke rate in the entire NFL, meaning that he's running after the catch and making defenders miss, which is a very good sign, along with getting wide open in his routes. We've seen this guy make defenders look silly. And he's had 8 red zone targets in the early season. This is very impressive. This is one of the most important statistics for a wide receiver. If a wide receiver has a ton of red zone targets, they're almost always one of the top wide receivers in fantasy. If you go back and you look at the last 10 years of fantasy football, if you look at the top 10 red zone targets on the season, you're almost always going to find the top 5 wide receivers in fantasy. So this is a very good sign. Garrett Wilson is leading the league in red zone targets in the early season, and that means that he is going to have high touchdown upside. So he's going to be scoring touchdowns, at least at a decent rate this season. And, we know that he has tremendous big playability because he can get wide open and make people miss. So I love Garrett Wilson on the early season. He's about to absolutely explode. Next player on my list is going to be Drake London. This is a guy who has a 33% team target share so far, meaning, he's being absolutely peppered with targets. I think that him and Kyle Pitts are going to be a little bit closer in team target share this year than we've seen in the first 2 weeks, but it looks like Drake London is going to be the clear target hog in this offense. This guy is 10th in the league in receptions, 12th in receiving yards, 3.48 yards per route run, meaning he's making something good happen for his offense every time he runs a route. It's very exciting to watch this young kid play. He has immense talent, and he is going to be peppered with targets in this offense. Marcus Mariota is going to be feeding Drake London all season long. He has tremendously high weekly upside and an awesome floor-ceiling combination on a week-to-week basis. Next player on my list is going to be Rashad Bateman. Now, one of my favorite things to look at with a wide receiver is, first of all, having the number one role in his offense, right? In a high-scoring offense, he's the clear number one target hog. And, Lamar Jackson is going to be feeding him targets all season long. He's got good average depth of target numbers, meaning he's being targeted downfield. He's making defenders miss. He's getting wide open. He has very slept on speed and quickness. This guy is way quicker and faster than everybody gives him credit for. We saw it on that 75-yard touchdown run. And what I really like to see out of this guy is he's got a 2.83 target separation, yards per target separation. This is 9th in the league. So to be top 10 in the league in target separation is something very good for a wide receiver. If you look at the wide receivers that lead the league in target separation every year, you're going to find a lot of the elite fantasy wide receivers. This guy is getting wide open in his routes, meaning that Lamar Jackson is going to have open windows to feed him the ball all season long. And we know that he has tremendous touchdown scoring upside due to being in an offense that is going to be putting a ton of points on the board. The clear target hog in his offense, getting fed the rock by Lamar Jackson, having high touchdown upside, having tremendous big playability. It doesn't really matter that he isn't seeing true wide receiver one target share. He's only seen 12 targets through 2 games. His targets are high value targets because they're, the average depth of target is there. He's being thrown the ball downfield. He's not operating anywhere near the line of scrimmage, meaning that his overall yardage total should be really good this year. So I really like Rashad Bateman on the season. This guy's about to absolutely explode. Do not sell him high. Hold on to Rashad Bateman. Next player on my list is going to be Michael Pittman Jr. Now, obviously, he played week 1. He missed week 2. But in week 1, he had a 96.7% snap share, meaning he's on the field almost all the time for his team. This is a very good sign for fantasy. And what I really like to look at for Michael Pittman Jr. here is the fact that his team looked terrible without him. They clearly need Michael Pittman Jr. to move the ball. This means that they are going to be force-feeding him all season long. He had 13 targets in week 1, 8 receptions, 120-plus yards, a touchdown. This dude is going to go off all season long. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he was a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football. There might be some people that are thinking about, it's week one, it's fluky, it's, something like that. This is not the case. The Colts clearly need Michael Pittman Jr. in order to move the football. Even with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, they look like they couldn't move the ball whatsoever against a Jacksonville defense that's not even good. That just shows the importance of Michael Pittman Jr. in this offense. And that means that he's going to be fed targets all season long and have tons of opportunity. And this guy is going to amass crazy yardage totals this season. I love the outlook for Michael Pittman Jr. Next and final player on my list here is going to be Courtland Sutton. Now, Courtland Sutton is a guy who is seventh in red zone targets. He's had 4 red zone targets on the early season. This is a very good sign. We want players that are targeted heavily in the red zone. He's also second in the league in air yards. He's seen 270 air yards on the early season. Courtland Sutton is notorious for leading the league in this statistic because he just gets targeted downfield so much. We now have a wide receiver in Courtland Sutton that's pretty much the most heavily targeted downfield wide receiver in the entire NFL. And he now has one of the best deep ball throwers of all time in Russell Wilson to sling him the rock downfield. This means that Courtland Sutton is going to amass crazy yardage totals. I've been talking about this guy all off season. He is probably going to be one of the top wide receivers in fantasy this year. He hasn't had that huge breakout game yet, but he did have 112 receiving yards in this last game. Actually, no, I think he had 122 receiving yards in this past game. So the receiving totals are starting to come in for Courtland Sutton that we know that he can see. So, the yardage numbers are going to be there. The touchdown numbers will go up. This will end up being a high-scoring offense. I know they've started the season a little bit slow, but it's just early season type stuff. I mean, this is still going to be an offense that puts a lot of points on the board, meaning that not only does Courtland Sutton have tremendously high yardage total potentials and the potential to have, the top 3 yardage totals in the NFL from the wide receiver position, but he also has high touchdown upside. We know that his 6'4" alpha male build is going to have him draw in a lot of red zone targets. So, considering the fact that he's going to be peppered with targets within the red zone, along with having his high yardage totals that we know he's going to have, Courtland Sutton's going to absolutely explode this year with Russell Wilson slinging him the rock. I love his upside. Do not trade him right now. If he's on somebody else's roster, try to get him before he becomes untradeable. This dude is going to be a beast. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning into my video today. I have very good reason to believe that all of these wide receivers are about to absolutely explode and be some of the biggest difference-making players in all of fantasy football. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning into the video. I will catch you later.